Is that the owl turning on and stuff?
Yeah.
So you're looking around.
Hey Christina, did I get you one of these little? Nice. If you want.
Or talking points.
Oh,
Maybe.
it just helps me remember stuff because I forget easily. She's too short.
Let's see.
I have a few more photos, because the ones I got last time, didn't turn out super great.
You want us, like-
Spread out so far.
Do you want us standing
No, you can just act like you're.
like we're doing?
Yeah, like you're in a meeting, or look at the screen, or, yeah,
Making big points.
yeah. Right, maybe some of you could look at the screen,
Okay. This is hard.
some different angles.
That's. It's easy to do it, you're not actually being photographed.
Who's chairing the meeting?
I will chair.
Okay. Ready to
So I'll call the meeting order at 5:02. And do a roll call. Christina?
Here.
I'm here. Sheridan?
Here.
Dana is gone. Dave, I guess, is not called in. And Terry is at another meeting, so. Got three of us. And we have a guest, it's Ryan, right? Yep. Right.
And Ryan might be interested in joining us and staying.
That, we are very interested in having you.
I was just researching different boards in the area, and this stuck out to me. I definitely care about the environment and skiing and protecting winners, so
Ooh.
I thought it was a good fit.
Oh, that's cool.
You
Okay.
live, where do you live? I live up County Road 17, like halfway between here and your. Cool.
And how long have you lived here?
My wife and I have been here since September of 2024, so a year and a half, right around there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, running out here and then probably so much.
And you moved from different range?
Yeah, we were in Denver for about 8 years and then Ohio previous to that, so.
Okay.
We'd be able to throw all the crap into you all,
Yeah.
Denver, no jobs, and try to figure it out. But,
Nice.
yeah, went pretty well, so.
Awesome.
Keep going west, so.
Great, well, that's nice.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and feel free, to ask questions or whatever as we're going through stuff.
Oh, thank you.
All right, agenda item number 1 is the zero waste events policy.
So I'll kick this off. Some modifications have been made. I think we worked with you, Dave, to make some modifications. If you guys quickly want to run through the substantive modifications that have been made since the last meeting, that'd be good. We have a long agenda and we have a hard cut off the side. So
Okay.
I'll let you guys.
Because you and I had the discussion and then you were going to talk to Preston, so what?
Sure.
what made it in-
The biggest thing is we added, you can have PLA, which is compostable plastics, and also uncoated, untreated wood products. So, just regular napkins you get from the store and stuff like that can also go in. And then we thought, in addition to what's here, would also provide some guidelines that show, what products are compostable, some recommendations from Delta Compost for their favorite suppliers for products, things like that.
So was that then in the policy or is there going to be?
It's not part of
guidelines?
policy,
Okay.
policy, it'll be separate, yeah.
All right, so was the decision to do everything that we were sort of working on in the guidelines in the policy or?
No, it's not in the policy,
Okay.
it'll be separate, because
Okay.
this is what we don't want to change. And the
Okay.
guidelines we can change if, like, let's say, someone who they're getting products from now goes out of business, it's quick to change, we don't have to have town council.
So this policy is basically what we had in the guidelines minus the, recommendations from Delta.
Yeah, the photos of what's coming.
Yes, okay, great, all right. And just a little bit of background, I had a phone call and you actually talked to them also with, Delta Compost. Delta Compost is where Bruin takes all of their, compostable stream. They are an industrial class 3 industrial waste, industrial composting facility. And one of the big things that came out of the conversation with them was the certifications of compostables that they can accept. And I was very interested in asking them about the compostable plastics, because I somehow had in mind that compostable plastics, the PLAs, didn't really compost all that well. But it turns out that they are much easier to compost than things like wooden forks and spoons and things like that. They compost more quickly. So they said absolutely we can do PLAs. And after thinking it through a little bit and talking with Lee about it, we realized that it's nice to be able to allow compostable plastics because things like straws and stirrers and utensils, it gives vendors much more options if they can do compostable plastics and not have to use wood and bamboo and stuff like that. The downside of them is that they can be easily confused with other plastics. So the idea of this policy is basically to eliminate any other plastics, even if they're recyclable plastics, which turns out most plastic is recycled anyway. So that's what we're trying to achieve here, is make sure that we've eliminated plastics from our waste stream. And I think that this, brings that out. Any other comments, Lee, from you? So, do we need to vote on whether we want to?
I mean, I would recommend you all entertain a motion and to recommend approval to the town board.
All right. So does somebody want to make the motion to that? Eric?
I'll make the motion to approve the policy as we have it written.
Okay, second,
I second that.
right? And all in favor, aye? Aye,
Right.
and I guess. How does this work? Because we don't have. We're 3 and 3, so we're not really.
We a quorum.
We are a quorum. Dave's online.
Oh, okay, great. Dave, did you hear all that?
And Dave, if you want to vote for it, you could probably vote in the chat, is that correct?
The check now.
No, okay.
Or raise your
Raise his
hand?
hand or unmute,
Yeah, Dave, we can't hear you. You're apparently muted.
but that's fine. We can, if he's not in a position to speak, then we'll just move on and it's a recommendation.
Okay. All right. Next item.
So we'll bring this in front of town council May or
Either the 8th or May.
the May.
Or the May meeting, still working on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
And whenever we bring it, I'm happy to end the meeting in case there's questions.
See.
All right, second item is. Vehicle idling ordinance or restrictions.
Yeah, so I'll take the lead on that. Since the last time you all saw this ordinance, we made some modifications, not to the ordinance, because that's not the meat. It's this exhibit that was enacted by the ordinance. And these are the newly framed vehicle idling restrictions that revolve around idle-free zones, the concept that Bo Nerlin, our attorney, loved at that town council meeting. So he made some modifications to this after I attempted to make some modifications. And here's the product. It looks a lot like what it was before, but right now it is specific to the historic business zoning district. But there still needs to be a definition and a threshold for idle. right? I mean, to determine culpability and be for law enforcement to be able to, actually enforce, educate, ticket, whatever the consequence is. So you'll see that threshold is still in there, 2 minutes or more within 1 hour period of time. But the zone at question or at issue here, that's for you all to kind of discuss. It applies to the entirety of this historic business zoning district. It's very broad. So I would leave it at that. There are exemptions as were listed before for things like emergency vehicles being serviced, stuff like that. Those are just a few of them. But it has been reframed to look more like an idle-free zone ordinance than just like straight across the board. Apply to all the areas of the incorporated limits of town kind of thing. So happy to answer any questions, but looking for some thoughts before it heads to the town council.
So how is this substantially different? Than what we went to them before, with what we went with them to, what is,
So before the restrictions applied to the entirety of the town.
right?
Everything within the incorporated limits of Ridgway were subject to, all the areas were subject to the idling restriction. This only applies to one zone, one area, and we have it framed as the historic business zoning district, which includes some of the areas that I've heard cited before, Clinton Street, the post office. There was one other I'm forgetting, but we settled on making it broad here, instead of just listing several of those spots or areas. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what is that? What is the definition of that?
With the perimeter.
It's the underlying zoning district as laid out in our land use regulations. So we have a zoning map, and I think HB has orange colors. So go down the hall and you look at the zoning. You can see we've got either color coordination of that zoning district. Very
Hi, Dave.
Hey, sorry I couldn't get my audio to work earlier, but I would like to cast a vote in favor of that earlier proposal. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. I think this makes more sense. So it sounds like we still need vote or whoever to figure out like what it means for the 2 minutes thing, because that was kind of hard for them to enforce.
No, this is all settled. Everyone's reviewed it.
Okay.
It's not, it's gonna be hard to enforce.
Okay, got it.
My officers are not gonna be going out looking for people idling in the historic business zoning district. That's gonna be complaint driven.
Okay,
As a lot of things are, we're just a small community with limited resources, but at least we'll have some teeth around the whole idling piece, which was the impetus for looking at this to begin with.
Okay.
So that's what I was getting at real quick, was we still have 2 minutes in there as that threshold. Right, you have to have something to define or to guide law enforcement to be able to say, you are idle.
I see.
Otherwise, someone might say, I literally just pulled my car over, put it in park, and before I could turn it off, decided to give me a ticket.
Right.
Right,
So
because
the
there
ticket
will be
defines.
that, there will be that, there has to be a threshold or definition so that they can record and
Okay,
get all evidence to substantiate any sort of claim or ticket that someone's idle.
okay,
So it seems to me that really what's changed is that we've gone from the entire town of Ridgway down to the historic business district, but that's everything else is about the same. There still really isn't any enforceability other than, a complaint driven thing. So, I'm fine with that because I think that, other towns are doing the same thing without really any kind of any more teeth in terms of enforceability. And it's my feeling that this will help if we have some signage so that people know that we'd like them to turn their engines on. And that's really what it is. But I can imagine that people are still going to complain and say, well, there's no enforceability. So I mean,
I agree, I think signs would be helpful, just if they just said wide zone or something like that, you know, or whatever the code is.
so I think we need to think about that in terms of, we're still back to sort of the education and outreach and signage issue that was raised at the last council meeting where we discussed this. We still need to do that. I'm definitely in favor of taking this back to the council and seeing how they react.
I agree with that, I think it'd be good to take it back to them and say that, at least if the sign has an ordinance on it, I feel like that's enough teeth, and hopefully it's not too big of a problem, that it's completely.
Right. All right, so,
Do we need a motion? for
motion
this?
again to.
Yes, I'm happy.
Okay,
I move to approve the new Iowa policy and bringing it before the town council.
you got a second? Dave, did you have, any comments on this before we?
No, thank you. I'll second it and vote for it.
Okay, all right. There's no other discussion, vote on it. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Aye. Dave?
Aye.
All right,
Thanks, Dave.
thank you. Okay. Moving along.
Yeah, I think this is approved,
The ban.
the banner.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, yeah, the banner, okay, so. I guess all of you saw the mock-up that I'd done of this banner. I gave it to Blackout and they redid it with the fonts and stuff that were in the Ridgway brand book. And of their own volition, just put together another option for us to look at. One thing I should note is that I asked them to put sustainability in a slightly different orange red than the mountains, just to have it stand out a little bit, which is similar to the banner example that was in the brand book. That color is not anything that is approved, put in the brand book as an approved color. But I actually tried to use the same color that was in the example. And gave that RGB value thing to them. And they used the same color. So assuming that the banner example that was in the brand book was approved, then this color should be approved. As I say, there wasn't along all the other colors are actually in the brand book with their RGB values and everything as approved colors, and the sustainability is not. I assume that would be okay. So I guess it's just a question of whether or not, which one of these options people would prefer. So do we want to, take a look at it a little bit? And then,
I like to.
okay, it's a little bit more modern. Option one is basically, I just dummied that up because the example in the brand book was similar in terms of how that was put together. That's the limits of my creativity. So I asked them if they had any better ideas, to please do it. So I think they put that together. It looks a little bit more modern. Any other comments? Dave, do you have any comments on it?
No, it looks good. The only comment I have is I do have another probably 2 by 3 foot poster that we had put together a couple of years ago. So I should get that to somebody, but that's available. It's not as fancy as what you've done, but it's something that can be on a table.
That poster, done, according to the brand book or anything, or is it just some lettering?
I think it's just some lettering. I don't think we ever, talked about brand book.
Okay. Well, and there might be times when we'd want to use them both or we both, so it doesn't hurt to have them. This one is a little bit larger, it's 60 by 28, I think, so it would work on a table. A little bit larger, a little bit more apparent, so.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so let's take a vote. Who has a preference for option 1? Option 2? All right. Dave, do you have a preference?
Option 2 sounds great.
Option 2 it is.
I'll offer something real quick. So yeah, option 2 maximizes the space for sure, so I'm a bigger fan of option 2. And I appreciate what you did, Dave, to stay on brand with the color scheme and everything. But I think if you all were inclined or like interested in it, it would make a ton of sense to me to make sustainability some shade of green. Even though it's not like a branded color, but it may be worth seeing what it might look like, just,
Okay,
you know what I mean?
yeah, so
If you're married to this, I'm all for it, I can do it, but
when you say a shade of green, like a forest green type of
Yeah.
shade?
whatever you all think would be
Yeah,
appropriate.
forest.
Why don't I do this? Why don't I ask them if they could, and maybe I can give them a couple of suggestions, but ask them to put it into, do sustainability as sort of the forest green. And then I'll send the result around and see how people think of that.
And just as an FYI, there are things online where you can put in, you know, your RGB numbers and say like, what color matches this? So it would tell you what green is like the best green to go there.
That's
To go with the colors that are already there.
Yeah, do you want me to do that?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. Yeah,
Thanks, Lee, that's cool.
yeah, that'd be great. I did let them know, I guess there's no hurry, right? Told them when they sent these to me that we were gonna be voting on it tonight, and then I let them know tomorrow, but I don't.
I could do that early tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great, and then I'll send this out to them. They say they can probably make this in a couple days, so we should have, it shouldn't be any problem to have it before our table on the 25th.
I think that's a good transition point to skip to number 6 to talk about the tape data then.
Okay,
Okay, cool. All right, so the 25th. We're doing the mulch pickup, or we're not, but the town is doing the mulch pickup at the Railroad Museum, correct?
that's right.
No, it's in our parking lot behind the library. It's not a parking lot.
Oh,
The empty lot
behind the
back there.
library.
That's where we put all the roll-offs. For the town cleanup day.
Okay,
And then off to the side, you have to be out to get a visual, but off to the side, that's where we, over the last few years, have put a big pile of our mulch for folks to just take on first come, first served basis.
okay. Library,
And then there's a e-waste pickup at the same time, we talked about. Outline bank, that's that.
okay. And Preston says we can grab the 10 by 10 tent that the town has for us to table. And we've also been approved to get a small amount of lemonade to offer folks for free. We can use our banner. And then one question I have for y'all is, we talked about bringing one pagers, so Dave made a good point, why not bring a composting one page? And then also we could bring that island one that you and Lee did too, I was thinking,
I think, oh, yeah, right.
the island thing.
Yeah, I was thinking that, I was thinking also the advertisement or whatever for the Ridgway composting program now. I have a couple of those, and that Delta Compost provide us with a sheet showing what can and can't be composted. So it'd be nice to have some of those. So the composting sheet, the program sheet,
Mhm.
the idling
Mhm.
thing. Right,
The fact sheet,
the fact sheet, the idling fact sheet. And then I was also thinking, kind of because it kind of goes with the whole sort of trash and recycling sort of stuff, is to have maybe print out some of the brew and waste recycling guidelines for for Ridgway,
Mhm.
and have some of those stand up. And I think that probably is enough.
Yeah. So we should either get together or.
Yeah,
talk
we'll-
about-
we'll-
Yeah, so I can keep those before.
Yeah.
Okay,
I still have to do the compost infection.
okay. In that case, I can work on the brewing one, since you do the fact sheet
Yeah, and I think the Bruin one, we can just get off of their website.
from the website.
Cause
I have a question about composting actually. I've been out for 3 days, so does anything happen as far as us getting information about the new composting program in town? yet, or is it-
Yeah, we'll meet with Chris Strasberg coming up soon, making some modifications, so I don't know if we'll be ready to unveil anything
Okay,
by then, but yeah, we're making some.
we should at least, I mean, we already have the composting, what can and can't be composted, we already have that. So even if the program is delayed or whatever, we can say, program is coming, here's what you should know about, what's not. So that gets us like, 3 or 4 different fact sheets that we can hand out to, with eliminating.
I don't wanna overdo it with the fact sheet, so maybe,
No.
maybe not the idling, maybe we just stick to compost.
Actually, that was kind of the thought I had was
Okay.
recycling and composting.
Okay, I like that.
Cause it kind of goes with that,
We can do idling with the.
which would be good with the EV ride and drive, right?
Whoa.
Zero idling, go.
There we
EV,
go.
Go with an EV, you can
Okay.
idle your EV as much as you want,
Yeah, okay,
yeah, you can put it on dog mode and that. Whatever it is.
okay. All right, good, I will. Send you a text about that.
Okay, yeah, we'll call them. And I'm available to work the whole thing, so I.
Yeah, it's from 8 to 1, so is it gonna be you two out there? Or is there anyone else gonna plan to be out there?
8 to 1, yeah, I can.
So I'll set that, pop-up tent out there, Steve and I will, when we see all, we'll help you get it
Yeah, here's what,
rented, because we'll be out there really early getting everything set up, you know, people unload their trash and stuff. So,
Okay, thank you.
and we get a table too, a 6-foot table.
we can work on a table, but just so you all are aware, have you ever been to this event?
No.
I mean, it's pretty chaotic with people just driving up with trash.
Yeah.
And so they're coming in and they're leaving.
Right,
It's not really an event, right?
Right.
So the folks who are, I think, y'all's best bet to engage folks is
Mulchers.
the opportunities when they're getting mulch, so they're posting up by the mulch pile. That's gonna be your best bet for trying to engage folks.
Yeah.
Offer the materials.
Okay,
So I'm just trying to paint a picture for it.
that's good to know.
yeah. But yeah, we'll need a table just with lemonade and whatever. For
Yeah.
actions. And hang everything around,
Mhm. Okay,
all right?
and then going back, do you mind if we go back to item 5?
Well, yeah, so, but is there anything else on? Something that relates to item 6 or just separate?
Oh, sorry, I thought
Yeah.
we transitioned, no.
Yeah, no, we skipped ahead to 6 because it kind of went along with banner, so there's nothing more about the banner, and we go back to item 5, the discussion of space to create resilience of the microgrid. So this is for the CEO roundtable, right?
Executive Director, CEO, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So for those of you who didn't see it, the executive director of the CEO is going to be at the space to create on
they
the
should say what the acronyms are.
Colorado Energy.
Okay.
It's going to be here at the Space to Create the morning of April 9th. For a roundtable. We're offering at the end of that to give him a tour. To him, right? Of our microgrid. Some sort. So yeah, and you need to decide what that tour is and who's gonna, work it, but that's the idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I won't be able to attend that. I have several other meetings, but, Terry will be there, John Clark will be there, I'm sure. So they know how to get access to the utility closet that holds the batteries. We won't be able to get on the roof to see the solar array, and it's pretty much those two elements that make up the microgrid, right? But, Terry may be able to pull up like the platform or software, you all have seen it, that shows the energy consumption and all the cool tricks that come with that microgrid and use and everything, so, I'll try to connect with Terry.
I wonder if you might be interested just to have as a resource for other communities that are trying to do microgrids. The thing that Tara put together, which is a sort of procedure for when we need to use a microgrid and how everything works in terms of who's responsible for what. Didn't she put?
It's more for the resilience hub if there's some sort of emergency, right,
Okay.
where we need to make the resilience hub available to a large number of people. There's a disaster or just some sort of power outage.
Hmm.
So, yes, it's kind of an operational guide for staff.
Do you think that's something that CEO would be interested in?
I don't know, you can ask Siobhan, since it's Eco Action Partners, kind of event, or that they're, so I don't know how much time they're gonna have to showcase things, but.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of taking time to go through the procedure, but just a handout to them to take with them in case other communities are looking at resilience hubs and need to have something we could do or a reminder that we did it and they could come to us for some information. So I can email Siobhan and see if she thinks that would be within scope.
Kendra texted me and asked exactly what Preston was saying. She was like, who on the staff can give the tour? Also, she asked, does Terry or someone have keys to the battery room, which we answered. She asked if someone could pull up the stats, and then also a video on the roof, which it sounds like we know. We're trying to do.
We need permission from Park Space and, asset that they can do that, that's good.
And, okay, so should we just ask Terry
I
to
think-
do the tour?
I think that's something we'll do.
Okay, because he knows probably.
He still has access, most of the access,
Okay. Alright.
but I will, I will email, Joanne and see if she thinks that having that resilience, procedure is anything that you'd be interested in.
I think Kendra might be leading this one, but.
Okay. So, to Kendra's permission on. Okay,
Mhm.
all right. All right, so question regarding rain gardens and rain barrels. That,
Oh. Can I share? Or take a zero.
we skipped four
That's
too.
your roadmap, yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's go back to the roadmap.
Okay.
Sorry. I realized we skipped two. I took the roadmap that I drafted a year ago and just kind of went back through it. Made some modifications to it, added some things, took a few things out. And just, wanted to get any comments that anybody has. The idea here is that this is a roadmap, but there's a lot of this that we can't really do. And that staff is gonna have to, consider it, and I wanna make sure that, they understand or are okay with the roadmap before they, before we do anything with it. So this is basically to try to get it into a form that Preston could then take and go to staff with it, and then we can start moving on some of this stuff. So I don't know if you had any chance to review it before. Again, it's largely is similar to what I had put together before. I just tried to clarify some stuff and you know, build it out a little bit. So, any thoughts, comments?
I think it's
When do we-
exciting.
When are we looking at funds release and early execution?
I'm sorry, say that again, Dave?
When will they release funds so that we can start moving forward on things?
The impact grant funds?
Right.
So we're still like negotiating with the energy office and, you know, I think it might be another couple months before the grant agreement can go before the town council. But regardless, with the scope that we're negotiating, we wouldn't be taking on any of those work plan items or making those expenditures until 2027. So it'd be 2027 through 2029.
Got it.
So and this kind of goes, you know, is sort of in the spirit, I think, of what you're talking a little bit about, Dave. One of my concerns is that, that's why I kind of have this square around the bold text there. I'm concerned that if we don't sort of think about this and think a little bit of how we want to approach this, that when things break down, we might be trying to replace them with other fossil fuel equipment. And so I'm hoping that we can be a little bit proactive, not necessarily saying we go out and buy a bunch of new stuff, but that when the schedule dictates or when need dictates, that we're ready to replace equipment with electric powered equipment where it's viable. And so that's kind of why I'm wanting to get this roadmap in front of people to kind of start thinking about, okay, well, if our string trimmer goes out, here's what we can replace it with without having to buy another gas powered string trimmer. So that's kind of the intent of this.
So we would bring this in front of town council to be approved so that they would basically have like a rule to not replace fossil fuel.
I don't know if it has go, I was thinking more it goes in front of staff.
Yeah, I don't know that, I mean, I think eventually I need to spend some more time with this. I mean, this is going to be a guide, not the law of the land. So the town council wouldn't review this and say, yes, we need to abide by this. I mean, they could technically, but I wouldn't advise that. This will be another guiding, I mean, we have a lot of guiding documents, right? We're talking about the master plan, the strategic plan. There's plenty of other studies and plans that we refer to when making decisions. This will, you know, if it's approved, it'll go into that inventory, and we would evaluate it come the appropriate time when we're going through the procurement process, abiding by all the provisions in the policy, looking at the options, right? Like if we're looking for a new backhoe and, you know, a gas powered backhoe is a third or a quarter of the price of an all electric backhoe. I don't know if they
I don't know if they make that kind of stuff yet.
you know what I mean? That's an extreme example, but yeah, if we're talking like string trimmers, stuff like that, that's a different deal that we can evaluate. And figure out how we want to move forward, since the ultimate, I mean, this was, for background, this is all part of the town's commitment to achieve net zero for municipal operations by 2030. So Dave's kind of taking he's taking the lead in trying to put this roadmap or this guiding document together to help make that goal more of a reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for some background. But it's still a goal, it's a very ambitious goal, and it's going to be hard, but it'd be good to have some guidelines and a roadmap as you put together.
And I specifically did not put into this roadmap anything in terms of timeline or, budget or anything like that. This is just a guiding principle that I could think of saying, we know we're transitioning. What do we need to do to transition in terms of figuring out how to replace fossil fuel equipment with electric powered equipment. And when we can't do that, how do we still achieve net zero through, and I'm not in favor of them, but things like carbon offsets, purchasing carbon offsets, or doing other things within the town to offset that by putting up, renewable energy or planting more trees or one thing I put in there is, and I think maybe you said this is already done, taking an inventory of what trees and green spaces we already have in town, because we should be able to use that to offset our carbon load.
And we do have that.
Okay, so that's all in this without anything to say about cost or budget or timeline. Those details are not, to my mind, part of the procedure or roadmap that defines the process for how we get there.
Well said. What I'd offer, because I was kind of thinking while you're talking, I was listening.
Multitasking.
This, I don't know that this needs to go to the town council for approval. I would recommend it be modified to read something like the Ridgway Sustainability Advisory Board's recommended roadmap to net zero or something like that. So it's y'all's.
That's fine.
yours. You know what I mean? And then that's something that we can refer to in the way I was just describing. Next month when you give your quarterly presentation to the board, you can say, hey, check this out. Everyone will know and say, nice.
And yeah, I guess I felt the same way. I didn't really believe this was something that the town council needs to approve. I think it's something they should be aware of, but I'm more concerned about your staff knowing about this and starting to think about replacement of fossil fuel equipment.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, that is, and we're cognizant, I mean, staff's cognizant of it. Each budget cycle, it's a big exercise in understanding what the needs and the wants are and trying to prioritize and stuff like that. But this will largely be for the public works guys, the folks in the marshal's office, the police department. We have some other capital type items and bigger pieces in other departments, but those are the big parts.
So maybe an ignorant question, but how do you balance the needs of stakeholders or who will be using these tools? In terms of how they do their work with an electric tool versus a gas tool, because it feels like their adoption is probably a huge component of pushing the agenda, and if they're not on board, it might be harder to get them to adopt new tool sets per se. Is there a way to get ahead of that and have conversations with them to get their buy-in before these types of policies are put in place? So what is the approach?
You're talking about like the folks that are out there, like part of staff actually using the equipment and such. I mean, I appreciate the question. There's variables and like different perspectives, right? Like if we're talking about an electric vehicle for the town marshal to use to catch bad guys kind of thing. We actually already have one and he's like testing it out. And part of what you're talking about is trying to create that buy-in to ensure that the person's like fully committed, bought into utilizing that piece of equipment for daily operations and not just resenting the fact that we're doing this, right? Am I understanding?
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about like a parks seasonal person or like a long-standing member of our public works department who is out there cutting weeds and he or she is used to like a gas-powered weed eater because for whatever reason, and we've switched over to, I'm making this up, like an electric weed eater. They may be like, well, this is bogus. I mean, the battery's gonna go out in an hour or whatever it is. And then I'm gonna have to sit there and wait for it to charge or use another battery kind of thing. When we can just be using gas and it's easier to refill. You still need to create that buy-in and learn the realities of how it works, right? We've talked a little bit about that, like how to navigate that. But I think kind of getting in the weeds, but your point is well taken. And we can talk with folks about it to ensure that, or to help ensure that the buy-in's there. We've already laid the foundation with those conversations over the years, just given the trajectory of the town and where we're going with like some very ambitious climate action and sustainability goals. But more needs to be done. Right? So I don't know if that's helpful, but I was trying to.
There's a couple things that I think of in terms of getting buy-in. One is to try to do some testing, I call them pilot projects, but basically test equipment and get used to it and see where the drawbacks are, what the advantages are. So doing some testing using real equipment. Another thing is to work with other municipalities that have already done this and have some experience. And there are some, forget what it is, but there's some regulations down in Colorado that municipalities have to make that transition to, electric equipment, landscaping equipment. And there are companies that are contractors to municipalities on the eastern slope that have started to make that transition. So there should be some knowledge base to work from to start building that buy-in, but we have to tackle it.
It's also a good question, and I think that's something that we could use more of on the board too, something to think about when we talk to people and stakeholders and, how we can market ourselves in our.
Boulder just went through this, I'm sure you guys know that, they just went through this too, for implementing it finally. So there's been a lot of guidelines with that and what they've gone through to get people on board. So we'd be a good person.
Even Telluride started to buy some electric landscaping equipment. And they're starting to build some experience with it. One thing that's pretty clear is that because of the batteries and all that, you need to kind of settle on an ecosystem and stay with that. Because it's very expensive. The batteries are.
Like Ryobi versus the other ones?
Yeah, right. You have to kind of decide what's going to work in your situation. And that's why I think it's a good idea to test this stuff out and see what ecosystem is going to work best for you, because it's pretty difficult to have a lot of different ecosystems. But yeah, good question. Kind of thinking we're looking for on this. All right, anything else on this one?
Well, I like this, and I like that your offset specifically mentioned only things like wind or solar power generation, green spaces in town, as opposed to trying to look at, offsetting with. Buying something out there that's something other, just keeping it local, basically. So I think that's good.
And Chris, I didn't write down what your suggestion is, but in the title you're saying.
No, all everywhere. I think I said, are you guys in the title? I said,
Perfect was that you were saying.
Ridgway Sustainability Advisory Board's recommended roadmap to net zero. You can wordsmith.
And then you were thinking that we would give this as part of the packet to the town council to look at.
Yeah, for that quarterly update, I think, the next meeting, we can prepare your presentation and, you can outline what you're gonna talk about, you're gonna highlight or showcase, and this could be one of them.
Okay. All right.
You don't have to, I'm just saying.
So before I make any more modifications to this, do you want to have some time to look it over and see if there's anything else you want to recommend before I bring it to them?
Yeah, I'll do my best to take a look, but again, I'll be able to take a look in the next couple of weeks, but I'll say it again, not trying to be redundant, but it would be a guide.
Sure.
Law of the land and
right.
What wouldn't be held to it, right? And so certainly not trying to be a negative Nancy, and that's not the right thing, but we also have certain realities of what we do with our job and trying to be good stewards with the dollars that we have. You know what I'm doing?
Yeah, which is, why did put that in there? This is just a guideline.
Oh, totally. And it can be in there. I think the way you have it framed is good. And I only did a cursory review, but it's on point with what we've been talking about for years now.
Okay, anything else on this? Dave, any comments? Dave's still here.
I'm wondering if Mountain Town 2030 seems like that could be one of their roles is to pull together what different communities have tried to electrify, what equipment they've purchased and how well it's worked, so we could get kind of a broader perspective and learn from others.
So talk to Mountain Town 2030 and see if they have suggestions where we could go to get some more perspective on like what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, what are other communities? What equipment have they purchased, and has it worked well for them?
Okay,
Dave, I use the Ego at home. They're pretty affordable.
I'm sorry, what?
I use Ego products and
Mhm.
great, yeah, ecosystem, somewhat affordable and probably more on the commercial grade of quality.
So you use some of them?
That's what I said,
So,
yeah, just to.
Ooh.
all right, so we got some that people, the staff can borrow and try.
I didn't use that. I didn't use that.
Or at least to bring the EV right drive to show
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, this is the mountain, the Ridgway net zero 2030, but part of our charter is to try to push ideas out to the community as a whole. So, anything we can do in terms of electrification to show the community is also good. So, yeah, during our ride and drive event, maybe other events, be great to have examples of landscaping, yard, maintenance stuff. So when we get to that point, it might be
That could be a huge resource.
Yeah.
That's kind of my world, so I can,
Great.
we could probably get vendors to come down, like, to bring products, because they're very interested in this market, clearly. And, given we could sort of tee it up on Boulder's coattails, because they did a big expo kind of there to get all the participants, people who wanted to service Boulder communities, came in and had a looky-loo at all the products commercially, so they could get on board and buy them.
Yeah, so that would be great. And,
I can work on
again, staff, public works people here can maybe get some experience with some of the stuff they haven't already. But yeah, that'd be great. And maybe don't wait until the EV ride and drive, maybe we have another tabling opportunity or something where we really just showcase yard maintenance equipment or something. Possibility.
I'll reach out and follow up with you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's see now. We're skipping forward again to.
I think we have just two things left.
Just
Yeah, y'all voted to a lot of them.
Okay, so, all right, so the rain barrel and capture.
Yeah, so thanks for adding this to the agenda. I just came up with what we're gonna be kind of looking at this summer. We're already looking at a lot of restrictions throughout our state, looking at how that's gonna go.
I said, do you mind bringing up the Zoom? I just shared something.
Right. Thank you. So I've been talking to different homeowners here, and it just makes sense to talk about things that can help us out, right? So rain barrels and our downspout as a capture system. There's a lower, typically always lower drain for gravity feed. And then usually I recommend, there's another picture of one, these are all over the place now. Having an upper outlet for overflow. So when we get those big, torrential downpours, that could also be pushed out to wherever you want to locate that extra water. So this is a real tool that we can benefit from pretty readily in town and anywhere really. It's just a way to have water.
Is there a law in Colorado about collecting your own rainwater?
Yeah,
Yeah,
We have to look at ordinances always. In town, I don't believe there's anything, at least in the HOAs. It's not that you collect from your downspouts, it's that you have to let it go. You can't impede it so much, like block it.
basically, I think the state law is like 2 barrels, it's a certain number. Because, people own the water, they don't
Correct.
want me taking too much water, so to speak.
So the average house 2 is sufficient, depending on gardens. So those are just ideas, and it'd be good to roll that out. I don't know if a website is the way to do it, or just for us to say, hey, this is something that could benefit, everybody.
You know, I think it'd be, we could do. I'm just sort of spitballing here,
Yeah,
but
that's all it is.
we could, add it to our website as a separate page, like water collection,
Information.
information
Yes.
stuff, or we could do it as a data sheet or a fact sheet type thing and have all the information and references on the fact sheet.
I like the website idea because we can drive it somewhere, right? It would just give people a spot.
Yeah.
But certainly a fact sheet is great too. The more information, the better. And that kind of piggybacks into, I'll talk about rain gardens. She's gonna show the picture in a minute. So rain gardens are the process of filtering water, creating a vegetation area, but letting water free flow through your land property in town is kind of what I'm thinking. So that you use, yes, exactly. So it's just creating topographical locations where you can catch water that runs to your property naturally. And so as it collects and goes through that, you want to create a rock filter, sort of a sand-based filter, and then of course all the roots would filter the water. It actually cleans our gray water, and since we're direct to the Agua Padre, and all the ditch irrigation goes into that. Anything we can do to benefit flow through our land, it would not just take sediment, right? We want to reduce it. We're not eroding and all those things. And this is something that's been done nationwide in various pockets, and it's gonna start taking some pretty serious, like Deborah's gonna focus on this for a while. So I'm super curious to roll it out here on the western slope where it's a little more talked about because we have so little water. But when we do, it'd be great to do something different. Just an idea.
Um,
And that can be information I can provide
Right.
today too.
Does anyone in town already have one?
I'm actually building one up on Marion Overlook
Oh,
right now.
yeah, because it'd be nice to be able to.
Yeah.
use that.
I'm about 3 weeks away from the first, like this first year, where we're gonna put a crop cover.
I'm curious about this. Our rain is very seasonal and it sort of comes in spurts, you know, in monsoon season and some here and there. So how does it work with the rain garden for all the, what you planted? I mean, I assume you have to be careful about why you select a plant so that it can survive when there isn't any rain.
Correct. Correct. So you wanna look, you wanna select your plants based on what kind of water flow you have through your property. And that's something you can determine by walking in with somebody, an expert or whatever. Also rain barrel supplement, so you see that downspout right there. Having that overflow device would be perfect to capture and slow down water flow. And also using the spigot at the bottom to keep some of your perimeter plants just green. The bottom will dry out, but that's what it's meant to do. It'll green up as the water flows. So it's designed to slow down water enough to purify it a little bit and also give us some grow benefit.
Cool. Right now on our website, we have a conservation page, and on that page, we talk about water being a critical resource and talk about water conservation. And in that, it's basically just a paragraph, couple of paragraphs. It talks about installing rainwater collection system. It doesn't talk about this rain gardens, so we could add that.
I just wondered if it was something to bring forward. People like to sink their teeth into projects that are beneficial for the landscape, especially if they're struggling with it. Just throw it out there as
I mean,
things you can do, right?
I feel like it's absolutely worthwhile bringing forward. The question is like, where will people see it? And so,
I guess that would be sort of something we just have to sort of read and look at, and maybe I could bring something next month to.
I think we have content, we can do that where to put it. We don't have content there.
Right.
So if you can.
Yeah.
Maybe the thing to do is go to our website, go to the conservation page, look at how it's laid out, and we can either come up with a separate, page for it, or links to a sub page or whatever. So you need the content first. So we can do rain gardens, we can do water collection systems.
Right.
It should be easy to.
It's just another conversation to start having. These aren't gonna, times are not gonna get better.
And it's very, very appropriate for this summer because we're gonna have a big issue.
You said Denver is pushing this?
Well, they're looking at trying to get some incentivized motivation behind it. Right now, they're toying it around, trying to see if they can implement it. It's kind of a new concept out here because we don't deal with a lot of water. But when we do, having these practices in place will certainly help us.
So does that mean like the city is trying to incentivize private
Correct.
residences
Just
or
like-
properties to implement this?
So similar to how they did xeriscaping compared to the pond, they
Gotcha.
incentivize that. So those are things I'm gonna bring as I kind of keep going forward. I'll bring those numbers to you and see if we can do something similar. There are grant opportunities also. So, that's something like an HOA could go for, or town or whatever, just to think about these things.
Cool.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, this could be really cool.
Want to go out and buy a couple of ring girls.
Yes, please do.
All right, and again, I've lost my agenda. So what's left, just the. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, any other thing before we go to the approval of minutes?
There's one other question, if you're off topic, but,
No.
wildfire season coming up. From my understanding, smoke from wildfire permits a ton for greenhouse gases. Obviously, prevention is a huge cost and probably something that doesn't fall on the town, government, but would education or wildfire mitigation for homeowners be something that things that they could be doing to prevent or reduce risk of causing wildfires, or at least alerting people if they see something that may be of concern. They do their own audience, but something that's been on my mind, and just curious if it falls into the charter and sustainability of greenhouse gases.
Definitely think it falls in that category.
Do you guys have anything lined up yet for the mitigation courses
Or, not the town, we can talk about the West Region Wildfire Council and their efforts. I don't know that the town's partnered closely with that organization in recent years, but I know that organization does a lot of great stuff in our community. And the other thing I'll say is the state mandated and frankly wildly rushed wildfire resiliency code was approved back in 2024, maybe early 2025 by the legislature. And it required communities around the state to adopt that code by today, April 1st of 2026. I'm making this number up, but I want to say probably 80 to 90% of communities around the state have not had it yet. We're midway slated to do it in the next couple of months. We didn't meet the deadline. Right now, there's a bill that's kind of being rushed through to extend that deadline a year to April 1st of 2027. Because a lot of communities are very concerned about, it's all good stuff, right? We're all bought into the need to mitigate as much as possible and be prepared. And on top of that, build in a more sustainable and responsible way, especially in these like high intense zones and all the adjectives that come with wildfire resiliency. And that's not my wheelhouse. But what I'll say is that's something that we have put out some communications about, and it's we've been working with Eco Action Partners and this engineering firm over the last, I don't know, year and a half on updating our building codes. But part of that has been, and not a big part, but a part of it has been immersing ourselves in that wildfire resiliency code. So we're on the tail end of getting that adopted and then implemented. But I guess that's what I'll say on the efforts on the town's end to do what we should be doing. But from a service and an education standpoint, I know I can speak for the town, but like the city and the county rely on organizations like the West Region Fire Council. I pointed Lee because she previously worked there.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so yeah, I do want to start sharing more of that information, especially as we come into spring and people start thinking about wildfires more often. And some of it might just be sharing posts from the West Region on the town site. The state has a lot of good information, so I'll probably start putting some of the state's information out about how you can harden your home and how you can reduce your danger. Yeah, and May is like National Wildfire Preparedness Month, so probably do more in May.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. I just obviously to risk from this area. I'm not sure if they're as educated and all of us.
Right,
It's some of the community, and homeowners, renters are probably terrified of that, but
Yeah,
you can get home insurance. This past year was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's,
Mhm.
If there's ways I can contribute to that among the volunteers, fire department, family, I would try to get my involved into education and growth as well. So, if I could volunteer, providing knowledge, or help on that. But
Sounds good. Yeah, and I can check in with Western to see if they have any events and, you know, somehow. Have you involved with that and, you know, see what we can do together?
You can put my name in that category too.
Okay.
Nice. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
I moved to approve the minutes from March 3rd, 2026 meeting.
Second,
I second that motion.
all right, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
All right,
Thanks, Dave.
so I guess we'll adjourn the meeting.
Can I ask, I appreciated the email Preston sent out about the updating our building codes. Where are we on that now? And are we getting any pushback from the email you sent out, Preston?
You mean when did we send it out? Yesterday? Just the one about the press release we sent out, Dave? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
No, I didn't receive any like direct emails with pushback, but I did notice on the town's Facebook page, there was a comment from someone who misunderstood the intent of updating the building codes, and I think they thought it was related to the going all electric and the ban on natural gas, which I can understand, but which in hindsight, the press release could have addressed that isn't related to that at all, because that won't need to be considered or enacted. Well, considered by the town council until 2028 at this point, based on the impact accelerator grant. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, but that's the only bit of pushback I saw, but it was Facebook and social media related, which I think we all know happens.
Sure. Sure. Sounds good. So has anything been read yet, or where are we with the process?
Yeah, the first reading of the ordinance before the town council will be on April 8th. The planning commission already had some work sessions and then approved the text amendment in a public hearing last month. And so now it's kind of at that 11th hour stage where it goes to the town council for 2 readings.
Great, thank you.
But as you know, this is the culmination of like 2 years of working in that cohort with Eco Action Partners.
Correct.
There's
Great.
a LACC training there's supposed to be on the 26th, that they postponed to June the 11th, I think, for contractors and builders and stuff like that. Which they're rescheduled, so not that it, I mean, that's sort of a tangential thing, but training is been rescheduled.
And for, I apologize, since maybe everyone doesn't have the context, but this ordinance, if it's approved, would enact the 2024 international code books for the town of Ridgway. So the 2024 international residential code and building code, which would be the commercial side, and all the appendices that come with it, and then the model low energy carbon code, which is really the bulk of what that energy code cohort had been kind of working to see happen. There's a whole series of amendments that would be more restrictive that the town council will consider. And then just talked about it, the wildfire resiliency code too, which is also state mandated. So, but that would include I think the SAB's interest in all of that specifically, I mean, all of it for sure, but specifically would be the enaction of the 2024 International Energy Efficiency Code, along with that low energy carbon code. So I hope that's helpful. There.
All right, I think we're actually adjourned.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
feel free to contact me